All right, let's get right into it. I want you to imagine for a second a single plan, like a global to-do list, designed to take on humanity's biggest, toughest challenges, everything from poverty to climate change. Well, that's exactly what we're breaking down today. A massive 15-year blueprint for building a better world.
So that's the big question, right? How do you actually build a better world by 2030? I mean, it sounds almost impossibly huge. But back in 2015, the world actually got together to try and answer that with a real, concrete plan. So how are they going to do it?
Well, before you can build something better, you first have to get really honest about what's broken. And if you look back to 2015, the world was facing some immense interconnected problems that were frankly demanding urgent action.
And here's the thing you've got to understand. None of these challenges were happening in isolation. It wasn't just one problem here, another there. You had rising inequality, you had climate change and our natural resources being stretched to the breaking point. A whole generation of young people were struggling to find work, and we were seeing new global health risks pop up. All these things were feeding into each other, creating this kind of perfect storm that threatened to undo decades of progress. It was so clear that a totally new approach was needed.
And that new approach? It came in the form of a unified global response. This wasn't about just putting a Band-Aid on one problem at a time. No, this was about creating a truly comprehensive plan for all of humanity and for the planet itself.
So picture this, September 2015. Leaders from all over the globe gather at the United Nations, and they make a truly historic decision. They all agree on this brand new, transformative set of goals, creating a shared roadmap for the next 15 years.
And this is its official name, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and the intro to the document itself says it all, really. It's a plan of action for people, planet, and prosperity. But it's also about peace and freedom, because, let's face it, you can't really have sustainable development without a stable world, right?
So the whole plan is built around these 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Now, I know what you're thinking. 17? That sounds like a lot to keep track of. But the brilliant thing about this whole agenda is that it's all organized around a really simple, powerful framework that makes it all click.
And to make this whole thing super easy to grasp, it's broken down into 5 core pillars. We call them the 5 Ps. And honestly, this is the key to understanding how everything fits together so perfectly.
Okay, so first up, you've got people. This is all about ending poverty and hunger in all their forms and making sure every single person is treated with dignity and equality. Then you have our planet. Simple, right? Protecting it from getting destroyed, being smart about how we use things, and taking urgent action on climate change. Next is prosperity. This means ensuring everyone can enjoy a full and prosperous life, and this is key, in harmony with nature. All of this is built on a foundation of peace, creating societies that are free from fear and violence. And finally, the glue that holds it all together, partnership. This is the big one, recognizing that absolutely none of this is possible without a solid global team effort.
All right, so now that we have that 5P framework in our heads, let's take a look at how those 17 specific goals, the famous SDGs, fit right into this structure.
So let's start with that first and maybe most fundamental pillar, people. This is all about ensuring dignity and equality for every single human being on the planet. The goals that fall under this pillar, they tackle the absolute essentials for a decent life. I mean, think about it. You can't really thrive if you're facing poverty or you don't know where your next meal is coming from. You absolutely need good health and a quality education to reach your full potential. And, of course, none of that is truly possible without gender equality. See, these are the foundational building blocks of everything else.
Okay, next up, the pillar that reminds us we've only got one Earth, and we have a massive responsibility to protect it for all the generations that come after us.
And the goals here, they take this really holistic view of our planet's health. It starts with the basics, like clean water and sanitation for everyone, but it scales all the way up to the massive global challenge of climate action. And it's not just about the air we breathe. It's also about protecting all the amazing life below our oceans and the incredible biodiversity of life on land.
Okay, so now for the final 3 pillars, think of these as the crucial support systems that make everything else actually work. They create the environment where all the other goals can actually succeed.
So under prosperity, you've got Goal 8, which is all about creating an economy that works for everybody through decent work and inclusive growth. Then for peace, Goal 16 is about building the bedrock of a stable world, things like justice and strong, accountable institutions. And finally, tying it all together, we have partnership. Goal 17 is like the master key. It's all about firing up that global collaboration we need to make any of this a reality. So, we have the goals, we have the pillars, but what makes this plan so different from everything that came before it? Well, the ambition is part of it, for sure, but it's really the core philosophy behind it.
The 2030 Agenda is all about one word: universality. You see, previous development goals were often seen as this kind of checklist for developing nations. But this agenda, it applies to every single country, rich, poor, and in between. The goals are also described as integrated and indivisible, which is just a fancy way of saying we can't just pick and choose our favorites. Success in one area, like, say, education, is directly linked to success in others, like the economy and protecting the environment.
And right at the heart of this universal promise is this incredibly powerful pledge, taken directly from the UN document itself. It says, "We pledge that no one will be left behind." I mean, wow, that is a massive commitment to reaching the most vulnerable people first and making sure that progress is something that's shared by everybody.
So we have the plan, we have the goals, we have the promise. But a plan is just a piece of paper until somebody actually puts it into action. And that brings us to the final and most crucial element of all this. The success of this entire 2030 agenda really depends on that fifth pillar we talked about: partnership. It's a call for this huge, revitalized global effort that brings everyone to the table. We're talking governments, sure, but also the private sector, civil society, scientists, and individuals just like you and me. The document itself calls this an agenda of the people, by the people, and for the people. So there you have it. The blueprint is there. For 15 years, this has been the world's shared vision for a better future. The goals are set, the promise has been made. Really, the only question left is the one we each have to answer for ourselves. What part are we going to play in making it all happen?